Today is June 22nd, 2011, and 70 years ago was the start of the Operation Barbarossa, the largest military operation in history. I do not know that it's a date that we need to celebrate. I don't think we need to open a champagne, but I think it is an important day to remember, especially for people that are interested in military history or history in general. And I wanted to remember this date by reviewing a Barbarossa-themed game. I remembered about this being the anniversary basically last night, a couple of hours after midnight, because a friend of mine sent me a message saying Happy Barbarossa Day, which was a little bit of a weird message. Again, I don't know if it's something we have to be happy about. But I thought, okay, I'm going to review a Barbarossa themed game. But I thought maybe I can just take an old classic off the shelf, or is there a way for me to purchase a new game, learn it and play it enough to get a good sense of it, and then make a video and all this still in the same day of the anniversary? Well, yes, I found a way thanks to the magic of print and play. So last night I purchased for $3 the game Barbarossa Solitaire from boardgamedownloads.com. The game is by David Kershaw, the same author of Vietnam Solitaire, a game that I enjoyed quite a bit a couple of months ago when I played it and I reviewed it too. So chances were good that I would enjoy this one too. Also, it's a solitaire, so today I didn't have to run around looking for an opponent. I could just play it to my satisfaction, and that I did, and now I'm going to share some opinions about this game with you. The game comes with a rulebook, which is 7 pages long, but the last 2 pages are designer's notes and scenarios. You only have 5 pages of actual rules, and even those 5 pages, as you can see, have a lot of white space in them and a lot of tables. Yes, the tables that you need for the game are scattered all around the rulebook, so probably you will want to copy and paste them and have them all in one place, so you will probably make your own player rate. That really helps. Otherwise, the rulebook is pretty clear, clean, straightforward. I really didn't have any problem with it. The map is a very straightforward point-to-point grid. I don't think it will win any award for the beauty of the art, but it definitely gets the job done. It doesn't have a turn track, so I just made my own. I also wrote when the reinforcements are expected to arrive. I wrote my own turn sequence here. So the good thing about print and play is that you can just add all the information that you want. I also added the line north of which the Romanian units cannot move, so that helps me remember that. What you see here is the initial setup with the Romanian and the German units that are ready to advance. In the back you have garrisons. These garrisons do not move, do not attack. Basically they don't do anything but reminding you of what areas are under Axis control. This is really all they do. And if you're wondering, wait, where are the Soviets? Well, they are here. Every region that is not under Axis control is, by definition, under Soviet control. In order to be under Soviet control, a region needs to be able to trace an uninterrupted line, either through roads or through sea. Boxes that have dots of the same color are connected through sea. So, and these regions need to be able to trace a line to one of these 5 boxes here, in which case they're considered under Soviet control. A turn opens with a movement phase in which the player is allowed to move any and all of his units by one region, as long as they move behind the front line or along the front line. No movement into empty boxes is allowed yet. After that, you have the attack phase, in which your units can attack adjacent regions that do not contain Axis units yet. The combat system is very simple and straightforward. You look at this table here and you look at the number of units that you're committing to that attack. Very important, you always have to leave a unit behind to guard the region from which you're attacking. So if you are attacking from a region that has 3 units, you can only use 2 in that attack. Then you will roll 1d3, you roll a d6 and you divide by 2, round up, and then you apply these modifiers here that are based on the period in which you're attacking. In 41, in the first couple of turns, you have +3 if the attack contains German units. In 42, +2, in 43, +1, 44 and 45, nothing. And then you will just look at the result when you cross-reference again modified number with number of units, and maybe you get a -1, meaning that you lost that battle and you just lose a unit from the attacking group, X-1, you win the battle, but you still lose a unit, and then the survivors can move into the region. So actually, if you were attacking with only one unit, you still lose that battle. Or the X means that you just win that battle and you can move all of the attacking units into the region. So as you can see at the beginning of the war, you're going to win pretty much automatically every fight. I mean, you have +3. That means that even if you attack just with one German unit and you roll 1, which is the lowest number, then you apply the +3, you still won that battle. So you don't even need to roll really at the beginning of the war. But later things become harder and harder. You need to put together several units just to launch a decent attack that gives you some chances of winning. It's a very simple mechanism, but I think it simulates well how hard things get for the Germans in later phases of the war. After you attack, you receive your reinforcements, and your reinforcements are placed behind the front line, not on the front line. The only exception is that units can always be placed in their home city. For example, German units can always be placed in Berlin, even if Berlin is on the front line, which, by the way, means that now the Soviets are pretty close if you find yourself in that situation. Also, units that are eliminated in combat will be placed on the turn track and will enter the game again 3 turns after they've been eliminated, but again you will have to place them on the board following the usual procedure to add new reinforcements. But as you can imagine, the Soviets are not just going to sit back, relax and watch you take over the country. They're going to counterattack, and in the last phase of each turn there is a chance that they will attack you. During the Soviet attack phase, you will look at this table that will tell you the number of attacks that the Soviets are launching that season. And as you can see, you can play the game at different levels of difficulties. You can play it hard, medium, easy. You can play a scenario. You can play a random scenario. And basically, you cross-reference the turn in which you are, that is determined by the season, and you will see the number of attacks that you will have to defend against. Then you roll on this table to determine the areas that will be attacked. Most rolls will give you the names of 2 regions, then you will choose the one that is the closest to your front line, and from that region you will have an attack that will be against the area of the front line that is the closest to that region. Suppose, for example, I rolled a 2 that gives me Gorky and Minsk, and this is the situation on the board. Gorky is here, Minsk is here, so Minsk is definitely closer to the front line. But now, what is the area of the front line that is the closest to Minsk? Well, this area is 1, 2 regions away, this area is adjacent, so the attack will definitely be against this region. But it may also be that you will roll a 5, in this case you had to roll again twice, pretty bad, or if you roll a 6, then the Soviets will attack the weakest point of your front line. That means that in order of priority, they will try to attack a garrison, because that falls automatically, they don't even need to roll. Otherwise, they will try to attack Romanians, Italians, Hungarians. If they cannot find any of those on your front line, then they will attack German units. Their attacks against you are resolved in a very simple and immediate way. You roll a d3 and you look at this table. It may be that the attack has no effect. It may be that your units in the attacked region must retreat, or you eliminate a unit, or it may be that a unit is eliminated and that's it. However, these are important modifications. If a region contains only non-German units, a roll of 2 is treated as a roll of 3. That means that they would be eliminated in most cases. So you don't want to leave your Italians, Romanians, and Hungarians there by themselves. You want to keep some German units there to defend them. If a region contains a garrison unit, it is automatically eliminated, and if the only regions available to retreat are Soviet control, you eliminate a unit if a 2 is rolled. They cannot retreat, so they must be eliminated. And at the beginning of the game, it may seem like this last possibility is not very real, but later in the game your front will be much more advanced, you will have a lot of garrisons here in the back, and if the Russians start crashing through your garrisons by rolling weakest point, weakest point, weakest point, actually it is not that hard for them to isolate several or sometimes many of your units here in the middle of nowhere, and then if those units are forced to retreat, they're eliminated instead, which is pretty bad. And this is basically the game. You repeat this procedure for 13 times until summer 1945. At that point, you look at the board and you count the number of regions that are still under Axis control, and that number will tell you the level of victory or defeat that you have achieved. The game has a very abstract quality. You have seen the map and now you know a little bit about the rules. Clearly this game can only be abstract. Also, it has a very strong puzzle-like feel to it. At the same time, strangely enough, it gives me the sense that I am still playing a representation, not a simulation, but a representation of Operation Barbarossa and on something else and not something completely abstract. It still shows me a very general progression of the events. It is like watching a documentary at incredibly fast forward, like watching at 32 times the speed. You can still figure out more or less what happens. It's just that in 30 minutes you see the entire front advancing, the Germans taking control of everything, and then the empire shivering and crumbling in no time. Really, 30 minutes, this is pretty much how long it will take you to play this game once you are familiar with the rules. And there is something fun about it. There is something good in the flexibility that you can really take out the game and play it. It's really easy to set up to and play it so fast and still get the sense that you had a mini Operation Barbarossa happening in your house. Overall, I enjoy playing this game. The replayability is okay. The beginning of the game, the first part of the game, will more or less always be the same. You can concentrate forces in different parts of the front, but it doesn't feel that a game is so different from the other. However, things do start changing once the Soviets start attacking you back, because that is a random sequence of attacks, and that means that in certain games your front will become weaker on the south, or the north will fall first. Sometimes you take Leningrad, but then you lose it right after. It just, since they attack in different ways, then you have to react differently. Sometimes you have your units lost in the middle of nowhere. You have to decide if you want to invest energies in trying to save them or just reinforce and defend other areas of the front. For $3, I already played the game enough that I really had the sense that my investment was worth it. I mean, also, I just printed 10 sheets of paper. It just takes a minute to build the game, a minute to set it up. It's good for me now to have the option of, again, having such a light game that gives me a very general but still entertaining and fun representation of Operation Barbarossa. So overall, I had a good time playing this game, and again, for $3, I think it is a good investment.